again, Razor Rookie, here one more time for you. It occurs to me that I haven't seen a lot of lathering videos lately, at least in the circles that I frequent. I started this channel to help, I guess, beginners and I guess even veterans, I guess, to pick up yet another technique. I've spoken to a couple of friends of mine, and they watch, but a lot of questions outside of the comments, like how do you do this, how do you do that. A friend of mine recently started wet shaving per my suggestion, and he just kind of can't quite get his lather right. So I said, well, if it'll help one, it'll help 100. So maybe this will help somebody later on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the camera angle, and you're actually going to be looking down, because that's one angle us wet shaving YouTubers never show, is what's going on down here. A lot of us will hold a soap up and show you what's going on, but that really doesn't. The focus needs to be where you're looking, because nobody holds anything up here when we're not shaving on camera. We all look down and we hold it down here. So I'm gonna flip the camera around and point it down. Hopefully this turns out okay. And I'm gonna give you two different techniques: one for a hard or a semi-hard soap, and one for a cream, one that you can get out of a tube or scoop out of a tub, because creams come in tubs too. So I'm gonna flip the camera around, get that done for you, and we'll try to learn something today. See you in a minute. Okay, so we are at the sink. This is a beautiful sink here. No tricks up the sleeve. All right, enough of that. I'm going to tuck this in so it's not dangling in the sink, so you guys can see exactly what's going on. Now, you have pretty much two options, well, three options really, but we're going to talk about two options for soap. This is just an example. Nobody's really sponsoring anything, but this is Sterling. Everybody's heard of Sterling. Most everyone has used Sterling. It's a great soap. Most of them have the consistency, what I would call semi-hard. What I mean by that is it is a hard soap, but if you push your finger into it, you can make a dent. Some people will just lather in the tub, and that's what we're going to do today. So I'm going to set this to the side, and you know you're going to need a brush. So what we're going to use, a real simple razor rock disruptor. This is a synthetic knot. You don't have to soak these. And to prove that, I'm going to get some water, and I'm going to fill up my trusty Doctor Who mug here. And I always set mine on the sink. And that's warm enough to wash your hands with water. So for posterity's sake, we're going to lather our cream with, I'd have to say, my favorite brush. It's my West Coast shaving. I don't know if you guys can make out the carving on that. But silver tip Badger. Badger brushes you do have to soak. So I'm going to stick that one there, pour out some of that water. I don't like to soak mine all the way up to the top of the handle. So set that off to the side. So for the video's sake, I'm not going to run the water too much, or I'm going to try really hard not to run the water too much. Okay. You need a brush and you need a soap. Like I said, some people will scoop this out and put it in a bowl or a mug and then work it over there. What I do is I go straight here. And the same thing with your hard puck soaps. Your fine accoutrements, Mitchell's Wool Fat, Williams, all those can be lathered straight in the puck. This is how you do it. You need a brush, you need soap, you need water. So we're going to dip that in our mug. No need to soak. Alright, now she's wet. 2 shakes. Now your brush is wet. It's not dripping wet, but it's wet. You can always add more water later. You go straight here. Alright, you're going to get really foamy soap at first. But you'll watch as you work it, it will thicken up. See, it's starting to thicken up. And your bubbles will get smaller and smaller and smaller. There's no need to rush through this process, because this is what's going to make your shave or break your shave. What you're doing is you're rubbing this brush across the soap. You are loading the soap out of here into here. That's what's happening. The agitation is what gets the soap into the brush. It's not hocus pocus. It's not witchcraft. It's not voting Republican or Democrat. It is simply agitation from brush to soap. Now, you see what's happening here is I'm getting cream on the soap. That is a good thing. That is a good indication as to what kind of lather you're having. See how that's hanging on there? Knock that off and try to work it back in there. And it doesn't matter if you make a mess on the outside of the tub. I make a mess every time. These things are plastic. They wash right off, and I always use cool water. We'll get to that in a minute. That's plenty enough for a couple passes. I'm going to set this soap to the side. Doesn't really matter where. Got a mess, no biggie. Now, to simulate your face, my hand is now wet from dipping it in that water. You have, just like you would your face, you paint it on there. See there? You paint it on, and you splay the brush and you scrub. All right? This action gets under the whiskers, gets all over the hair, gets to the face. Since there's no hair on my hand, thank God, there you go. You have your lather now. And you can get it as thick as you want. If you're a Chris Madden, you go right ahead and you spend 20 minutes to 3.5 days doing this and going back and forth with this action. And you can feel the brush against your face. Like I was saying earlier about too much water, it's not enough water, you dip. And you go back to painting. If you feel the brush kind of dragging across the skin, it's not enough. There's not enough water. You're going to need just to dip the tips just a tad. And when I say a tad, I mean, watch. I'm going to turn the water on to a drizzle, just a drizzle. That shiny there. That's plenty enough water, and watch that shine come along. You want it the consistency of Cool Whip or whipped cream if you're not a fat slob like me, and just as fast as you can get the sweet good stuff in your mouth, the better. But you can kind of see that glisten and that shine from the light. That is a damn near perfect lather. And it's a learning process. Right? And you've got a ton of lather in that brush. And I mean, watch. Set this off. That is a ton of lather. It's a little wet, but that's easily 2-3 passes. All right, whichever way you want to work it. I'm gonna rinse this off. And you see it's not just coming off real easy. So that was a good lather. It stuck really well, and that's gonna lead you on to this residual slickness that everyone chases after. I don't know where that term came from, but you hear it a lot nowadays, and people use it, and I guess that's a really important thing for some people. Alright, now, we made a mess on our soap. Do not fear the razor rookies here. I got you, man. Turn your water to cold. I got one of these old school hot, cold, one knob taps. That is cold water. I rinse off the tub. I make a mess, and I rinse off my soap Some say that's wasteful. See how the cream's gone? But Mike, the whole tub and everything is wet now. And if you shake it out a bit, you can get most of the water off. And there you go. I lay mine on a shelf that's located over here. But what if you don't have a shelf? What if you're traveling and you don't want to take a tube of cream with you? No big deal. This is a towel. These are used for drying things or setting things on so they can dry. You don't have a shelf, you're traveling, you're in a hotel room, you're packing up. First thing in the morning, you got a skedaddle. Check this out. This soap is hard enough to where it ain't going to hurt nothing if you just dab it dry with a washcloth or a towel. You don't want to use your dirty underwear or anything like that. Right, dab her dry. And in this case, your towel will now smell like oranges. You dry off your tub. And if you're real anal, you can go around here, around the edges, and you can soak up all that extra. Alright. You spin your tub or move your towel, whichever way you want to do it. Now your soap is dry. No big deal. Slap your lid on and boogie. There you go. Now all this time, there's a lot of mystery to how that process works. And now you've seen it on camera for yourself. I'm going to set this on the shelf back where it belongs. And we're going to lather a cream. Unless you were living under a rock or this is your very first shaving video, you heard that West Coast Shaving paired up with Katie's Bubbles and Oleo Soapworks, and they came out with a whole new line of their shaving creams and soaps. I got some of the creams. This is the Fougere, and I'm not trying to promote anything or anything. This is strictly an educational thing. This, I'll show you this. It looks a lot like that, but it is a cream. Your finger goes straight in. It is a cream. That is not hard at all. These come in either a tub like this or in a tube that you squeeze like toothpaste. Like that. But for your face, not your teeth. I guess you could get that on your face, but I know Colgate made... Anyway, I'm getting distracted. These here are a lot simpler for the upkeep. You get you some. That's a ton. About an almond size. If your country doesn't have almonds, a cashew or 2 peanuts will do. About like that. Then you can put the lid back on this because you're done. You don't need that. What you do need is some technique. A lot of people use a bowl. They call it bowl lathering. So we're going to use a bowl. Let me grab mine. Doesn't really matter what bowl you use, but I would suggest you getting one with ridges in there. I'm pretty sure you can see by the reflection there are some ridges. You can use a coffee mug, you can use a soup bowl, you can use a dog bowl. The bowls they sell at head shops aren't big enough unless you have a really teeny tiny brush or a really good head shop. Anyway, what you want to do is you want to get this off your finger best you can into the bowl. You have shaving cream and a shaving bowl. Cream, bowl, bowl, cream. That's it. Slap yourself in the face with the bowl. No, don't do that. You need a brush. So we're going to go back to our badger brush. You don't need a badger brush. You can use a boar brush. You can use a synthetic. You can use a badger. It doesn't matter. It's all about personal preference. I didn't want to use the same brush twice, so I'm just doing this. You see how she's dripping wet? You don't want that. It's too much water. You take your hand, wring it out a bit. Excess water. There you go. You're done. I'm going to rinse my finger off. Got our bowl with our cream inside. Take the brush and smack it right down in there and start whipping. And you'll see quickly, you start whipping up a cream, and you got room to work now. The positive side of bowl lathering is you can see what's going on with your lather. You can watch what's happening, and you can control what's happening. See there? You hear guys talk about peaky lathers, not peaky blinders. Everybody's obsessed with peaks, and I don't know. Nick Shaves would say peaks about 114 times a minute when doing lather reviews. I haven't seen one in a while. I don't know if he's still doing it. This is not one of those. But you can see what's happening with your lather. She's coming out of the bowl. That's what's happening here. But you can work it, and if the bubbles are really small, you got it right. If they're really big, you got too much water. Maybe you need some more cream. You can keep working it until you get that cool whip consistency. I'm just about there. I chase mine back down in the bowl. I get as much as I possibly can out of one little scoop, and you saw just that almond sized bit on my finger went in the bowl, and now I've got probably, we measure things in passes, so let's stick with that unit of measurement. I could probably go 4 or 5 passes out of what I got in the bowl. So I'm going to attempt to get all of this out in one whop here. Yeah, I did okay. And you can tell this doesn't mean that bowl lathering is better or worse than face lathering, but this is one way to do it. And there you go. So you got your lather, and then you would take it to your face the same way you did the other stuff. But I'm not going to go through that because we already did. So I'm going to show you here. She's pretty well empty, but I got a ton of lather. And I suggest anytime you get a new soap, you play with it a little bit. Pick a good brush, and you see how well you like it. And I do the karate chop. See, it's such a peaky lather. And see, they say it's peaks because it kind of looks like a mountain. But you do the karate chop, and you know you got it right when you can, wow! Dang old man, Elvis Presley, man, you get the king of karate, man. Only 2 people know that, Chinese and the king, man. Anyway, yeah, you do the karate chop test. Pull your hands straight away, and if the peaks don't fall over, you did it right. And I think I did it right because I've got a ton, and there's a hair in it. It's a hairy lather. A hairy lather. Anyway, there you go. Alternatively, you say, Mike, I'm traveling. I don't have a bowl I can take with me. 2 options. 1, they make plastic lathering bowls. I know Doug Smythe makes one. It's plastic, indestructible. There's another company that makes like a little pan that fits in your hand, and it's plastic. It's got divots in it like a golf ball. You're looking. And you can use that, or you get your brush wet, skip all of what we just did. Get your brush wet, shake out most of the water, like so. And see how she got a little hole in it? You make that hole a bit bigger. You take your cream and you put it right in the brush, stick that brush to your face, and you start scrubbing. And you will then be face lathering You skip all the BS with the bowl. You skip everything. You go straight to your face because you're shaving your face. You're not shaving the bowl. My friend to the west, Fuzzy, says bowls are for soup, cereal, whatever you want. If you want to bloom something, bloom some flowers. Your wife will enjoy it. Maybe she won't. Sunflowers are pretty. Don't bloom your soaps. Don't lather in a bowl. These are just ways some people do it. Sometimes a bowl lather, sometimes a face lather, straight to the old face there. It doesn't really matter if you use a synthetic or a badger brush. You're going to get a lather on your face. Now, how do you clean your brush? My brush is dirty. I got two brushes. I'm going to show you two techniques. You got hands because you're holding your brush. You're not going to hurt it. You done worse to your face, to your brush with your face. So you just rinse it off. That way, if you want to see if it's actually clean, you can kind of cup your hand and fill your brush up with water and check to see if the water's clear when you squeeze it out in your hand. The upside to synthetics is they rinse out really well. You can run water directly in them, like so. I don't know if you guys can see that. You can shake it out, like so. And for those of us at home, we have little stands and you can hang them up like so and they drip dry. But even if you do that, because I'm slinging her pretty well dry here, you want to take your towel, and I lay mine on my arm like so, and I get the handle dry, and I run mine across the towel a little this way, and then I turn the handle a bit, about a quarter turn, third of a turn, and I run it across there again, and I keep turning, and I keep swiping, and I'm getting most of the water out of the bristles, and if it's still kind of wet, I get me a dry piece of towel, and I keep going, like so. Now she looks pretty well dry. Slap her in a travel tube, skedaddle, hang her on the stand, on your shelf if you got one. And you are done with that brush. It will dry, it'll do its thing. Badger brushes, about the same deal. They are thicker. It's an actual natural fiber. It's not synthetic, so I do the same thing. It just takes a little bit longer because it holds heat and water and lather better. So I rinse them out quite well. I'm a little nicer to them because they are a little more expensive. But look, squeeze. No soap came out. I'm going to keep rinsing. Same deal. Get most of the water out best you can. And these always look cool when you start slinging them dry. We have a towel, we have a brush, and you want to rub just, and while you're turning, you can see I'm turning while I'm swiping. Get that up. And I'm not mashing down on it. I'm just swiping and turning at the same time. I'm trying to get as much of the water out of there as I possibly can, not being too aggressive. And it looks pretty well dry. Dry off the handle. It's the second time I dropped it. It's not an actual, it's a resin handle, so it'll be alright. More worried about the sink than anything. But there you go. Your prized badger brush is now clean. You hang that up and you let her go. You still got all this yucky stuff over here, but I'm going to clue you in on something. If I have to show you how to rinse soap out of a bowl, I'm pretty sure your city or town has buses. If I have to show you how to rinse out a bowl, try to talk to one of their hood emblems as they go by. But you got to get real close for them to hear you. Alright, well, that's that. So, hope it was entertaining. I hope it was educational. I hope it helped somebody. Not everybody's as versed in wet shaving as the next person. And if you're just starting out, maybe this will help you a bit. My name's Mike. I'm the Razor Rookie. And until next time, enjoy your shave. And get out of my bathroom.